Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse podcast. This is episode number 401. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today we have Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
This week on the show, we'll be reviewing the new indie sci-fi film Come True. We'll also be going over someone watching on the watch list and going over this week's new releases on VOD and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That would be super helpful. Did you hear this news about, I'm sure you did, the Alamo Draft House?
Yeah, for the most part, I think. Like, did they file back, or did they sell? They sold, right?
They sold, yeah.
It's under new ownership, but they're not really actually going anywhere, right? It's just...
a few of them closed. New Braunfels, which is the... I'm not sure where New Braunfels is. The original downtown Austin location, which is the Ritz? We were there. We were at that one. I really liked the Ritz, man. That's a really great theater. And then one of them in Kansas City, Missouri. I don't know where New Braunfels is.
That sounds like a made-up town.
New Braunfels. It's in Texas.
It's not real.
It's near San Antonio. Apparently, looks like a really nice little town. At any rate, it's extremely sad to hear about Alamo Draft House. I hope that under their new ownership that everything will sort of remain the status quo and that the quality won't take a dip, but something tells me that it will, and something also tells me that I don't think that it's ever going to be the same. But we'll just have to see. All right, let's dive into our review. We're talking about Come True. I have a synopsis here. A teenage runaway takes part in a sleep study that becomes a nightmarish descent into the depths of her mind and a frightening examination of the power of dreams. This is written and directed by Anthony Scott Burns. The story is by David Weisenberger. I gotta say, if you are terrified of sleep paralysis, or if you suffer from sleep paralysis, or sleep paralysis scares you in any way, this movie's gonna be a rough watch for you because there is some really intense sleep paralysis in this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Kevin, we'll start with you. What were your initial impressions of Come True?
I pretty much enjoyed this one. I was honestly, if you listen to the most anticipated, this was on there, so I was excited going into it. There was a little bit of trepidation on my part because of the whole, it's all about dreams, right? And that can go one of two ways usually. And with it being an indie, who knows how it's gonna go. But I gotta say, like, the dream imagery and the way that he handled that, and not only just like the dream portion of it, like you being in the dream, but also on top of that, like the technology that they use to like visualize the dreams, the imagery that they used for that as well. I thought both were just absolutely top notch, and I found this to be pretty damn enthralling. It did lose me a little bit at the end because it has that thing that I hate, and it just like it took all of its coins and threw it into that basket, and that was just really disappointing.
Yeah,
pretty much the entire movie except like the last 5 minutes, maybe. Fantastic.
I'm on board with you. I thought that the ending was atrocious. Specifically the very end, like what happens at the very end, I thought that it was absolutely atrocious, and like it just undoes so much of the goodwill that I had with this movie up until that point. So I really hated how it ended. But setting that aside, and sometimes an ending will completely ruin a movie for me, and I'll just be like, oh, this, they fucked the whole thing up. I don't think that's the case with this movie. I think that I still came away enjoying it overall for most of the reasons that you already mentioned. The The visuals, I think, were absolutely top notch. I freaking loved the design of all of the creature stuff, like
Yeah.
the figures and all of that were in the dream world. I love the look of the dream world. I thought that they did some really cool shit with the visuals. Stuff that sometimes felt reminiscent of, other things, but at other times felt fairly unique. And I really, really liked everything they did with that. Like you, I'm also very hesitant when it comes to movies that dabble in dream worlds and dream logic and all of that stuff, because I think that, to me, movies that take place in dreams or nightmares or whatever, they could potentially have the same pitfalls as drug trip movies, where I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it that this represents this thing in the real life, but we're going to spend an hour in this world examining this dumb metaphor. But but like this, I don't think that necessarily happens in this movie. I think that the way that they handle it is,
Yeah, and I think like the best way the best part of this, I think, is that a lot of people make the mistake of having like the main character or whoever's like in the dream, like actually be in the dream and interacting with the dream. But I like what Anthony Scott Burns did here, is where like you're just sort of the camera moving through the dream world. There's not like there's not really a narrative happening in this quote unquote dream world and dream logic or whatever. You're just simply going through the landscape. That's it. And I thought that it really benefited from that.
yeah, yeah. Like, the perspective doesn't necessarily change. So like, we're following the main character. We're following Julia Sarah Stone as Sarah, and we're not like in the dream with her and she is in the dream, and it's, like one of those situations. Like, they're observing her dream, and so we're sort of observing it as well. And I think that creating that disconnect does benefit as far as like the pacing and stuff like that. I think that this is very well paced. I think that it moves along at a really nice clip, and I think that it does a great job of keeping the audience engaged.
Oh, definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was, yeah, I was like, where's this gonna go? Like, I was just pretty enthralled the whole time.
Pretty much same here. And I mean, they tease out just enough, and they kind of hint towards sort of this nefarious angle, this end game that they're working towards. Like, they're not giving you all the information; they give you just enough, but you obviously know that that's not the whole story. And I think you're right. The pacing of it and the way in which they tease out the specifics is done pretty great. Although it's unfortunate talking about these things, because as great as they are, you inevitably have to come to the point of the end and say that, yeah, a good portion of that was ruined by the end.
I like to think of
Which
this.
is unfortunate.
I like to just pretend that ending didn't happen.
I know. And it's pretty easy to do, because it's literally like 5 seconds at the end, and it comes off as just like completely needlessly tacked on, like, oh yeah, by the way, this is how we explain it. And you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore that. Like, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so lame what they do at the end, but which is definitely unfortunate, because I think that aside from that, you have a really great movie here. I actually wasn't as excited about this going into it as you, and there was a lot of hype around this, and I was just like, I don't know, man. Like, the trailer it just really wasn't doing it for me. But I came away from it being pretty surprised at how into it I was, and I liked the world building too. I liked I don't know if world building is not the right word. I like the sci-fi mechanics of it. I liked the look of the devices that they used to record the dreams and all of that stuff, like the little suit that they would wear. And I like the look of the way that it looked when they were actually recording it, like the video.
Oh, yeah. That was, yeah, like I was impressed enough with the dream world in the beginning, where it's just kind of this CGI landscape that the camera just slowly moves through these very dark cavernous areas and doors and figures and that kind of thing. Like I enjoyed that. And then when they introduced the technology that they use to take the electronic impulses in your brain and kind of descramble them into imagery, like in order to watch your dreams, like that just made it even creepier.
I like how there were like stages to it. So like before you were in REM sleep, there was like this like kaleidoscopic imagery that would happen as you were starting to fall asleep, and then once you entered that deep sleep, that's when like the images started to become more clear. I just thought it was really cool, and I feel like if something like this were to ever exist, this is sort of what it would look like.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, like, sleep is so fascinating to begin with.
Yeah, that's definitely something I wanted to touch on. Just coming back to the whole, like, I think that sleep paralysis, thankfully, I don't think I've ever had sleep paralysis, but I think that sleep paralysis is an utterly fascinating topic to explore. That there was that documentary, we just talked about it. It's called The Nightmare?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That documentary, it talks about how people who get sleep paralysis will often see the same figure. They all tend to describe the same figure sort of looming over them or standing in the corner of the room or whatever. And I just think that that's so fucking creepy. And the fact that that's a real life like thing that happens to people, and for them to explore that in more detail and make some fun sci-fi theories around it in this movie.
That's just insane to think about, like the grouping of people in this world that suffer from that. And for them, it's very, very real. And, it's very traumatizing, very stressful and everything. And then you just expect that person to just like have a normal day afterwards.
Yeah.
Like just come into work and be productive. Like if someone came into work and was like, okay, let me tell you how my night, I was trying to sleep and I was woken up. I couldn't move. I was absolutely terrified. There was a black figure looming at the end of my bed with its arms outreached, glowing eyes. And like to follow that up with like, okay, just do your regular job. Can you? Like, that's just insane to me. The things that like people go through and are still just expected to be like, just be that worker drone, please.
It's really crazy. According to a figure that I literally just looked up, less than 8% of the general population experiences sleep paralysis.
But they're supposed to, go about their day like the other 90.
I mean, can you imagine? Like, yeah, can you just imagine? Can you imagine like every night dealing with that horror of being trapped in your bed, not being able to move, not being able to do anything, and then that figure, that shadowy figure looming over you.
That fucking guy. Do you think? I wonder if people that suffer from sleep paralysis, if they name them. Like I would feel like that would help. Maybe like if you gave him a name, like Carl, that would make him less. Just be like, oh, Carl's back.
Yeah, like humanize him a little bit, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Carl's restless. He doesn't know what to do.
He's just every night just comes in, stares at me. Just
where did he's
he's making sure you're safe. That's what it is. He's not threatening.
It's all a misunderstanding. He's just watching over you.
Exactly.
I mean that's a crazy thing too. It's like if you look at like essentially any single country folklore, they all have like sleep demons and stuff, and it's so utterly fascinating.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons I love the Nightmare on Elm Street series so much, is because Wes Craven there was that story about this guy. I can't remember what country it was in, but he claimed that there was a demon who was coming after him in his sleep, and that if he went to sleep, he would it would kill him. And he was up for like weeks and weeks, and then finally he just passed out and he died.
God.
And that was the inspiration behind Nightmare on Elm Street, which, it's just it is wild. Like, it is wild. And I think that's one of the things that makes this movie so intriguing is the fact that sleep paralysis is a real thing, and these figures that are featured in the movie are to a lot of people a very real threat, and it's crazy. But
yeah, and it's unfortunate that you have all those things, and this movie and its director just like can't stick with, like, can't commit to it. Like that isn't enough. We got to throw this like twist at the end that just undoes everything.
Yeah,
just ruins it.
I think maybe we should do a quick spoiler discussion on this, because I just want to highlight what it is. What I'll do is
I'll so badly to say it.
Yeah.
Get pissed off about it.
What I'll do is I will cut this bit off and put it at the end of the show after the outro. So you will not be spoiled here. You can keep on listening. But if you did see Come True and you want to hear what happens at the end, it'll be at the very end of the show. So
spoiler for real quick, spoiler for the spoiler. It's fucking dumb.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to mention one more thing, and that's Julia Sarah Stone, her performance. Now, like, in terms of acting, it's it's an all right performance. It's solid, it's serviceable. But I think like her look, like the look on her face, like as soon as she's introduced, I'm just like, she looks like the most restless, just tired, worn out person. And it worked wonders for what this movie is about. Obviously, like, she just looks like, I just wanted her to get sleep. I just wanted it like a solid 8 hours. That's all I wanted for her.
Just get her a nice bed, just a nice bed.
Just pillows, surrounded by pillows. Some ambient noise, something.
Yeah, I thought she did a good job overall. All right, let's go ahead and give it a score. Come True, I'm like, man, it's so tough. I think that I'd probably be at like a 7.5 if it wasn't for the ending, and then with the ending, I'm at like a 6.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna say like a 6.5, between 6 and a 7.
All right, that would be 6.5.
Is that okay? Yeah. That'll do it. Got it.
All right. That is Come True. That is available on VOD platforms right now if you want to check it out. Let's move on and talk about some of what we've been watching. I don't have anything this week. Yeah. Well, I have watched a couple things, but they're all for South by, which is South by Southwest is starting up this week. And so I'm getting a leg up on that. So I can't talk about anything yet, but stay tuned for our South by coverage coming up next week.
Okay. All right. I got one. That is The Incredible Time Travels of Henry Osgood from 1986, directed by Dave Thomas, who is one half of what the fuck is their name? Is it the Mackenzie brothers? The Canadian guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob and Doug.
Yeah. So this is okay. The way I came about this is through rewatching Perfect Strangers, which has been immensely rewarding. And I think I like that show more than I liked it when I was a kid. It's like, Perfect Strangers is a fucking great show. And I've been really impressed with Bronson Pinchot's performance of Perfect Strangers. And I'm like, I want to see more of his stuff, what he did in movies. So I looked him up and I came across this. Okay. So this is like a Showtime comedy film thing. I don't know what it is. All right, but it's directed by Dave Thomas. He plays the main character. He plays Henry Osgood. Bronson Pinchot plays Charles Dickens. John Candy is in this. He plays Dave Thomas's brother. You also have Martin Short. You have Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy. I feel like there's a couple other people in there. But, I mean, you just got a stacked cast here.
It's like the SCTV crew from the looks of it.
Yeah. And so Dave Thomas, he's Henry Osgood. He's a teacher. He's a history teacher. And he wants to be, back in Dickens' time. That's where he would like to be. He doesn't like the present day. So he starts getting thrown around all throughout time. And he's got to deal with the ramifications. And he's got to use his knowledge of history to try and, I guess set things right. I don't know what the hell's going on. This is really fucking dumb. This is a stupid ass thing. I don't know. It's like a 60-minute film. It's not really funny at all. It's bad. It's just really bad. And it's kind of surprising given, the talent that you have here. A lot of talented individuals that amounts to pretty much nothing. It's just really bad. And it did a towards the end. It got to throw in some racial stereotypes. So that was like you were already bad, and then it was like, let's make it worse and just do like racial stuff, which made it even worse.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's bad. Oh boy.
So I guess maybe just check out some of the other SCTV stuff. Check out Strange Brew. Just watch that instead. All right, let's talk about some VOD stuff. On the 15th, we have Quo Vadis Ada coming out. This takes place in Bosnia from the looks of it. It's a drama. On the 16th, we have SAS Red Notice. Starring Ruby Rose is in there. I'm not sure who else is involved with this.
Andy Serkis.
Andy McNabb presents SAS Red Notice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Based on the best-selling novel by Andy McNabb. So if you're a McNabb fan, if you're a McNabb fanatic, check out SAS Red Notice. Also on the 16th, we have With a Journey to the Slow Life, a musical tale about the new worldwide trend that embraces the concept of slow life.
What the fuck?
All right.
Fucking dumb.
Slow life. Not sure what that's all about. Sounds like sort of like an offshoot of minimalism.
Who knows?
Anyway.
Who the fuck knows?
We also have Jumbo coming out. This one I can recommend. This is the one about the woman who falls in love with the Tilt-A-Whirl ride.
I love that. I just I don't want to see it because I don't want it to be bad.
It's not bad.
I'm just happy enough living with that synopsis. It's just that's enough for me. I like it. It's just actually, because of that.
Yeah, it's actually quite good. Like I would recommend it. We also have Todd coming out.
Did you say Todd?
Yeah, just a movie called Todd. It's the story of a man who always felt like the odd man out.
Todd, yep. Get it?
It looks like he becomes a serial killer, maybe?
Oh, boy. Of course Todd becomes a serial killer.
Todd takes you on a nail-biting, edge-of-your-seat journey into the mind of a budding madman.
Oh,
nice.
Michael Winslow's in it. But he does not play Todd. He plays a guy named Jake.
Okay. All right. On the 18th, we have Slacks coming out. That's on Shudder. I'm pretty interested in checking out Slacks. It's about a pair of killer pants. Killer slacks.
Yes.
It's a possessed pair of jeans is brought to life to punish the unscrupulous practices of a trendy clothing company.
Oh, okay. So it's not slacks. The jeans are killing slacks, maybe?
Nah, I think the jeans are killing people. I think that they're just calling them
But
slacks.
I wonder if it's people wearing slacks. You want to fuck around with some jeans?
I don't know. Either way, I'm into this one. I think this is a Canadian film. I think the producers of Turbo Kid are behind this one.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm on board with that. On the 19th, we have Happily. This is a dark comedy from the looks of it, with Joel McHale and Carrie Bichet. I don't know about that one.
From the title, you can tell it's garbage.
It's a Saban film, so take that for what it is. All right, let's see what else we have here. Rose Plays Julie is coming out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing about that movie like 6 years ago.
No, it's finally on its way out. We
Wow.
got The Fever coming out that's a virtual cinema release.
Okay.
Phobias is coming out. 5 dangerous patients suffering from extreme phobias at a government testing facility are put to the ultimate test under the supervision of a crazed doctor in his quest to weaponize fear. Sure, I'll give that a look. We have Last Call coming out. This is an IFC Films release. This is with Jeremy Piven and Jamie Kennedy. So I think that's all you need to know about that. And I believe that is it for VOD. On Blu-ray, we got Promising Young Woman. I highly recommend that. I think that was like my number 3 movie of the year last year. If you haven't seen that yet, definitely check it out. We got Runaway Train from 1985. Crossfire from 1947. Damn Yankees from 1958. Rad is getting some kind of steelbook release from the looks of it. It's a Mondo steelbook release. Mill Creek Entertainment is putting that out.
Watch out, Mill Creek.
Mill Creek is they're on a roll last year or two.
They own 47% of all movies.
All the ones I'm interested in, that's for sure. PG Psycho Gorman is coming out. That's from earlier this year. I would recommend that if you haven't seen that yet. It's a good bit of fun. Campy fun with some really great costumes and monsters and practical effects. Let's see. We got Running Time from 1997 starring Bruce Campbell. Journey into Fear from 1975. What's Up Doc from 1972. Looks like there's some Studio Ghibli films getting re-released, including The Cat Returns and Whisper of the Heart. We have The Invisible Man Appears from Arrow. Arrow's coming out, and it's actually a sort of a box set. It looks like a double pack, which is The Invisible Man Appears and The Invisible Man versus the Human Fly. In God We Trust from 1980. Got the
yeah, that's a good one.
Castle Freak is coming out. That's the remake. Don't Tell a Soul from earlier this year. That's the one with Rainn Wilson where he falls down a well and 2 kids leave him there. 2 kids leave Rainn Wilson in a well.
I don't know why, but that's funny. That's a comedy.
We got Songbird, Tower of Evil from 1972, Money Plane. Wow, Money Plane. Let's see. Dark Web, Cicada 3301. I don't know what that is, but I kind of want to see it. That Pinocchio movie from last year. I Am Lisa. Looks like a werewolf type movie, maybe. Looks like Titanic is getting some kind of new release. Dolly Deadly from 2016. Notting Hill, Billy Elliot, The Beguiled. Tons of anime. Looks like American Pie is coming out. There's some sort of American Pie collection thing that's happening here. Where they got the first one, the second one, Wedding, Reunion. They're all coming out. Unrated. You know how it is.
I don't want that to happen. It's
We have enough. We have enough American Pie releases. Like, there's enough.
just stop it.
These movies are already on Blu-ray. We don't need more of them. Yeah, that's about it. What about Criterion's this week?
We got one, and that's Celine and Julie Go Boating from 1974. This is another movie that I've been wanting to see for, ever. And I feel like that I already love it, so that's why I haven't watched it.
Got it.
I know, like, I was planning on watching this, but I don't know, the idea of Rainn Wilson falling in a well and kids just leaving him there might supersede that.
Yeah, it's a tempting proposition. All right, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast at filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter at filmpulse.net and at filmpulsekevin. And if you have a moment, please consider reviewing us on iTunes. That would be super helpful. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name is Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week. So essentially what happens at the end is she gets a text message that says she's been in a coma for 20 years. That's it. That's it.
20 years. 20-year coma.
I mean, it is the most, it's like the laziest, like on the nose, like, when you see like parody shows, like movies that make fun of like other movies and like spoofs and stuff, like or like when people are making fun of soap operas, you get that a lot where like, oh, you've been in a coma for 20 years. Dun, dun, dun. Like, it just comes out of nowhere. And the fact that it occurs in a text message is just, it feels so out of place. And you're just like, wait a minute, what? Like in a split second, everything in this movie was dismantled.
Yeah. Like, because to me the coma thing is bad enough. Like, I hate, okay, so we can go through like the hierarchy of things. I hate when things are like, oh, it's just all a dream. That's bad enough. Okay. And then I really, really hate when it's like, oh, this was stuff that was happening while the person was in a coma. That's just kind of played out. I think it died out years ago, and now I guess he's trying to bring it back, which is really disheartening. But then to like meld the two together, like for a second thinking about it, I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting where you take, like the dream world, and let's say instead of being in the dream world for one night, you're in the dream world for 20 years, which is kind of ridiculous to be in a coma for 20 years. But regardless, but then that's immediately disappointing because like this is what's happening in the 20-year coma. And then someone's just on the outside world, like shooting text at a
I love it should be noted that like it's one text and it's like we're trying something new. Let me know if you get this. we're trying something different. We're just spitballing here. I don't know if you can get this or what, but
we're trying it out. Give us some feedback if you can. I like that they don't give her like any, like, how is she going to give feedback? And I like that like their suggestion for getting out of the 20-year coma. They used all this technology to figure out a way to shoot her a text message in her coma 20 years in to communicate with her. And the best that they can come up with is, hey, wake up.
Please wake up. Yeah, that was their method, was sending her a text in coma world and saying, please wake up.
Can you wake up? We're tired of taking care of you. It's been 20 years. Wake the fuck up. Get out of here. Like, how? Like, has she not? It's.
But the other thing, like in a lot of these movies where things take place, where they sort of pull the rug out from under you at the end, and like like that movie Identity comes to mind, where it was like all in the person's head. What a bad movie that was. But one of the things that those movies tend to do is give you little breadcrumbs throughout, where when the twist is revealed, you can be like, oh, okay.
Okay, that's why you never saw him in the same room.
You know, it's just the whole it's like the Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz thing, right? Where you have real world representations of people and places and things that are in the real world that are in the dream world,
Yeah.
but like represented in a different way or whatever.
Yeah, like ghost stories.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a perfect example.
That
makes sense.
They don't do that in this movie
No.
at all. At least that we know of, because the thing is, like, it's not like we get the text message and then cut to the real world where she's in a coma, and we see the doctor who was in her dream, and that's like the real life doctor who's trying to wake her up or whatever. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, like her doctor's a Jerry Lewis knockoff. Like that, no, you don't get any of that info. You're just it's just a text message. Hey, we're trying something out. We're not sure if this is going to work. Wake up. If you could text back yes that you got this, great. If you want to unsubscribe, text no.
Text stop. Oh my god. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, because otherwise,
and
it's pretty like, solid.
It's weird because like a minute or two before that, things are kind of going off the rails. Things are getting weird. Things are really developing at a fast clip, you know, and you're just like, okay, this is kind of getting out of control.
Yeah, I mean, especially when
getting out of hand.
Especially when you find out that she like killed the doctor / boyfriend. I don't know if he's a doctor or assistant or whatever the fuck he is. When they cut to her like with blood everywhere and she freaking gouged his eyeballs out.
Yeah, and then the next development is she's a vampire now.
Yeah,
apparently
she has fangs. You're like, whoa, right. Shit's getting weird now, boy. We're going straight down the rabbit hole. But then, like, if you realize, like, if you look at the runtime, you're like, oh, there's like 10 seconds of this movie left. What's going on?
Yeah, it's like, how's this coming together? And then it's a text. The camera ends on the text of, hey, shot in the dark here, but could you wake up? It's been 20 years.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate, but yeah, I don't know.
It's really bad, because like if you take out that chunk, because I didn't like her killing.
No, I didn't like that either. It just made no sense to me. I just didn't.
Also, I mean, he was creepy. That was weird. Because he was like, you know, at one point where he's like, "Oh, you're smart for your age." It's like, yeah, you're the one stalking her.
And isn't she's like in high school too? Like,
yeah,
it's just the whole thing, the whole relationship between them was creepy. I thought he felt like a low rent Daniel Radcliffe to me. I just kept thinking
yeah, I thought the exact same thing.
I like that actor. I've never seen that actor with facial hair before, but I've seen him in other stuff. I think he's a decent actor. I just didn't like his character. His character was a creep in this.